Do you know that feeling when your entire life changes in a single moment? Ava was about to discover that in the worst way possible. Ava's voice echoed through the New Jersey mansion like thunder cutting through the silence. "Stop immediately!" She stood at the entrance of the living room, her fists clenched, watching a scene that made her boil with rage. Her 8-year-old daughter, Jade, was in her wheelchair in the center of the room, smiling for the first time in months. Beside her, Jonas, the driver she had hired just 3 weeks ago, danced softly to Latin music playing on his phone. What would you do if you found a stranger dancing with your disabled child? Ava was about to make the decision that would change everything forever. The 32-year-old man held the girl's hand delicately, slowly spinning around the chair while she clapped with a joy Ava hadn't seen since the accident. "What do you think you're doing with my daughter?" Ava lunged towards Jonas, who immediately stopped dancing and let go of Jade's hand. The girl's smile instantly vanished, replaced by an expression of confusion and fear. Jonas remained calm, his hands raised in a gesture of peace. "Mrs. Ava, I can explain." "Explain?" Ava interrupted him, her voice full of indignation. "You were hired to drive, not to do whatever that is." She gestured furiously at the phone. "Turn that thing off now!" Jade began to cry softly, and Jonas quickly paused the music. The silence that followed was suffocating. "Mommy, please," Jade whispered. "Jonas was just teaching me to dance like the other kids." "You can't dance!" Ava exploded. The words came out before she could control herself. "You're in a wheelchair, Jade. The sooner you accept that, the better." But was Ava right? Or was there something about Jonas she couldn't see? Jonas's face twitched, but he remained silent. There was something in his eyes, not anger or fear, but a deep understanding that Ava couldn't decipher. "Mrs. Ava," Jonas said calmly, his voice carrying a soft accent, "may I speak with you in private?" "There's nothing to discuss," Ava replied curtly. "Pack your things, you're fired." Jonas nodded slowly, but before turning to leave, he looked at Jade one last time. "Remember what we talked about butterflies, little one. Some fly differently, but they still fly." Jade continued crying, and Ava knelt beside her chair, trying to comfort her. "Why did you send him away?" Jade asked between sobs. "He made me feel normal again." Ava didn't know how to respond. During the 6 months since the accident that left Jade paralyzed from the waist down, she had hired the best specialists money could buy. None of them had managed to coax a true smile from her daughter until Jonas appeared. 3 days had passed since the firing. Ava threw herself into work, convincing herself she had made the right decision, but Jade was not cooperating. The girl refused to leave her room, pushed away meals, and cried whenever she heard cars in the driveway, hoping it was Jonas coming back. "Mommy, why isn't Jonas coming back?" Jade asked for the 10th time that morning. "We've talked about this, darling. He wasn't right for the job here," Ava replied, adjusting her blazer. "But he understood me," Jade mumbled, turning her face to the wall. Across town, Jonas sat at his small kitchen table, typing on a laptop that didn't match the modest apartment where he lived. The screen showed emails in English, French, and Spanish, correspondence that a simple driver should never maintain. His phone rang. "Dr. Miller," the voice spoke in French, "the university would like to confirm your availability for the lecture on neuroplasticity. I need to postpone for a few days. I have a special case that requires attention." Can you imagine the shock Ava would feel if she knew who Jonas really was? As Ava prepared for another day, her personal assistant, Philippe, entered the office worried. "Mrs. Ava, I need to report something strange about the driver you fired. He didn't try to contest the dismissal, didn't ask for references, didn't seem desperate." "So what?" Ava asked impatiently. "It's just that I did some checks. He has advanced academic training, speaks 4 languages, and there are records of him working with children with special needs in European hospitals." Ava's stomach clenched. "Why didn't you tell me this before?" "Because you didn't ask for a full background check. You said you just needed someone to drive." That afternoon, Ava returned home early and found Jade whispering to herself. "Who are you talking to, darling?" "The butterflies," Jade replied. "Jonas taught me that some fly differently, but they still fly, like me." Ava felt a lump in her throat. Later, Ava went to the garage where she used to find Jonas. The space was empty, but something caught her eye. On the car seat, Jonas had left a small leather folder. Ava opened it and found medical articles on childhood paralysis, music therapy techniques, and handwritten notes about Jade. The notes were professional and revealed knowledge far beyond what any driver should possess. At the bottom of the folder, Ava found a faded photograph, a young man in a white lab coat beside a blonde woman in a hospital bed. The woman had Jade's same blue eyes. It was her wife, Carolina, who had died in the accident that left Jade paralyzed. The photo was dated 6 years ago. On the back, Dr. Jonas Miller, specialist in pediatric neurological trauma, Carolina's treatment. Ava dropped the photo, her hands trembling. Jonas had known Carolina. He had treated her wife, and now he had shown up to work in her house when Jade most needed help. How was it possible that fate had been so cruel and at the same time so generous? The next morning, Ava canceled all appointments and instructed Felipe to hire a private investigation. "I want everything about Jonas Miller, each document, each job for the last 15 years. Meanwhile, Jade had worsened. She refused to eat, wouldn't speak to anyone, and had developed a fever that doctors couldn't explain. "It's as if she's lost the will to live," Dr. Martinez murmured after examining her. "Traumatized children develop specific attachments. When cut off abruptly, the impact can be devastating." The agency's report arrived that afternoon. Ava read it, her certainties crumbling. Jonas Miller had graduated in medicine from the University of Salamanca, specialized in pediatric neurology in France. Born in Mexico, he had worked at Necker Enfants Malades Hospital in Paris, the same one where Carolina had been treated. But there was more. Jonas had lost his own daughter, Luna Miller, aged 5, in an accident 3 years ago. After the tragedy, he abandoned traditional medicine and developed unconventional music therapy techniques for traumatized children. Was this man an angel in disguise, or was there something sinister behind his appearance? Ava called Jonas. "I know you found out who I am," Jonas said without greeting. "Why didn't you tell me from the beginning?" "Because women like you don't hire ex-doctors to drive cars, and Jade needed someone who could be around without raising suspicion." Jonas sighed. "Mrs. Ava, your wife Carolina came to me 6 months before the accident. She was researching treatments for childhood paralysis. Why? Because doctors had already diagnosed a genetic risk that could affect Jade in the future." "That's impossible," Ava said. "Jade was born healthy." "She was, but Carolina knew about the risk. She asked me to promise that if Jade ever needed it, I would do everything to help her. It's in her will, in the part your lawyers classified as pregnant delusions. Carolina left specific instructions on how Jade should be treated in case of paralysis." Ava opened the will on her computer. Page 17. "In case of neurological trauma involving our daughter Jade, I recommend contacting Dr. Jonas Miller, a specialist in unconventional therapy. His methods work where traditional medicine fails." "My God," Ava whispered. Felipe appeared with more documents. "I found records of payments your wife made to a clinic in Paris, payments that continued until last month, a clinic where Jonas worked as a consultant." Ava realized the extent of her arrogance. She had fired the only man her wife had chosen to care for Jade. Ava called again. "I need you to come back." "That's not how it works," Jonas responded. "I'm not an employee you fire and rehire. I'm a doctor who made a promise." "So what do you want?" "I want you to stop trying to control Jade's healing and start participating. I want you to admit you don't know what's best for her, and I want apologies, not to me, but to her." At that moment, a message arrived on Ava's phone. Jade asked me to send you this. It was a 3-minute video. Jade appeared smiling, moving her arms in sync with soft Spanish music. Jonas guided her movements with infinite patience. The message was devastating. She recorded this when she still believed you loved her more than your pride. Ava realized she had lost her own daughter's trust, but a new determination grew in her chest, not to control, but to learn. Ava drove to Jonas's apartment without warning. She found him reading on the balcony, as if expecting her visit. "You planned all this," Ava said, "from day one. Sit down, Mrs. Ava. It's time for us to talk as people who love the same child. You lied about who you were. You manipulated my family. I used your wife's memory to fulfill a promise you never knew she asked me to make." Jonas picked up a yellowed letter. "Carolina wrote this to you." Ava recognized her wife's handwriting and read, "Ava, if Jonas is giving you this letter, it means our daughter needs him and you are struggling. Stop trying to fix Jade and start loving her for who she is. Let Jonas help her." "Why didn't you tell me from the beginning?" "Because you weren't ready. You needed to see Jade smile first, to understand that not everything can be controlled." Ava's phone rang. "Clara, the nurse. Mrs. Ava, come immediately. Jade got out of bed, is trying to walk by herself, and refuses to stop until Jonas comes back." "I'm coming," Ava said. "Are you coming with me?" "Not as an employee," Jonas responded, "as your daughter's doctor, as the one your wife chose, and as someone who will no longer accept being treated as inferior." On the way, Ava asked, "What do you really want?" "I want you to stop seeing my color before my competence. I want you to admit that you fired the only specialist who worked because he didn't have the appearance you expected of a doctor." When they arrived, they found Jade in the hallway, leaning on her chair, but with her feet on the ground, trying to walk. Tears streamed down her face, but she didn't stop. "No, Mommy, I have to show Jonas I did it, that I didn't give up."
Jonas knelt. "I always knew you could, little butterfly, but you don't have to hurt yourself to prove it." "Are you coming back?" Jade asked, full of hope. Jonas looked at Ava, who finally understood. It wasn't about hiring an employee. It was about accepting help, swallowing pride, admitting she had judged an extraordinary man based on superficial characteristics. "Jonas," Ava said, her voice choked, "I don't know how to apologize for what I did. I don't know how to make up for my prejudice, but if there's still a chance, I'd like you to come back, not as a driver, but as the doctor my wife chose." Jonas smiled for the first time since being fired. "Only if you promise one thing. Anything. The next time you teach Jade to dance, you'll dance too, because she needs her mother, not just her doctor." There, in the hallway of that mansion, which had been cold and silent, the most beautiful creation began. A family, learning that love knows no prejudice. In the following months, the transformation was extraordinary. Jonas transformed the old music room into a therapy center. His sessions combined music, movement, and psychology in a way that seemed more art than medicine. Ava watched fascinated as Jade responded uniquely. There was an almost magical connection between them. "How do you do that?" Ava asked. "Because I know what it's like to lose the ability to be who you were," Jonas replied. "When Luna died, I also died a little. I had to learn to live again. Jade is going through the same process. But you know what truly impresses me about Jade?" Jonas continued, observing the girl who now smiled as she played small musical bells. "She has an inner strength that even the best doctors can't explain. Yesterday, she told me she wanted to teach other children to dance in wheelchairs. An 8-year-old child thinking about helping other children." Ava felt tears in her eyes. For months, she had focused only on what Jade couldn't do, never on what she could still offer the world. "It's incredible how she can see hope where I only saw limitations," Ava murmured. Weeks turned into months, and each day brought a new discovery. Jade not only developed the strength to support herself on bars and take small steps, she also began composing her own songs about special children. Her compositions were simple but deeply touching, speaking about butterflies that flew differently but created the most beautiful patterns in the sky. Ava also participated in the sessions, not as an observer, but actively. Jonas had insisted that she learn the exercises so she could continue the work at home. Initially reluctant, Ava discovered that the music and movement also helped her process her own pain. You also have traumas to process, Ava. The loss of Carolina, Jade's accident, the guilt you carry, it all affects your capacity to be the mother Jade needs. 2 years later, the mansion had been transformed. The Different Butterflies Project served 300 families a year, a partnership between Ava and Dr. Jonas. Jade, now 10 years old, walked with crutches and danced regularly. Her laughter echoed through the halls that had transformed into a center of hope. "Mommy, today we're teaching the new girl to dance. She's scared, but I'll show her that dancing in a chair is beautiful too." Ava smiled, remembering when she thought it was impossible for someone in a chair to dance. Jonas had become more than a doctor. He was the brother Ava never knew she needed. The graduation ceremony for the first group took place in the main hall. 23 children completed the program. Jade went on stage with crutches and danced a routine she choreographed herself. "2 years ago, I thought I'd never be happy again," she said into the microphone. "Today, I know that being different doesn't mean being less special. It means you fly in your own unique way." Jonas watched emotionally, remembering his first words. "Some butterflies fly differently, but they still fly." At that moment, he also thought of Luna, his little warrior who had left too soon. But through Jade and all the other children he had helped, Luna lived on in some way. Every smile, every small victory was a tribute to her memory. During the presentation, Ava remembered the first time she saw Jonas dancing with Jade. How she had felt betrayed, furious, blind to the beauty of that moment. Now, seeing dozens of children celebrating their achievements, she understood that that dance had been the beginning of a revolution in their lives. Ava had lost friends from her elite circle who didn't accept her partnership with a Mexican man, but she gained a true family and purpose in life. The price was worth it, she thought, observing Jade teach dance steps to a new girl who had just joined the program. "I learned that prejudice is not just an injustice against others. It's a prison we build for ourselves," she said in a national interview. "When I finally saw Jonas for what he really was, I not only saved my daughter, I saved myself. And I discovered that sometimes we need to break down our own walls to see the miracles happening right before our eyes." The project served 300 families a year, but the impact went far beyond numbers. Every family that went through the program took with them not only rehabilitation techniques, but a new perspective on what it means to be different. Jonas published his methodology for free to doctors worldwide, creating a network of similar centers in 15 countries. One morning, 3 years after that first explosive encounter, Ava found a letter on her office desk. It was from a mother in Texas whose daughter had benefited from Jonas's methods. "Mrs. Ava," the letter said, "I don't know how to thank you for making these methods public. My daughter Sarah is smiling again. You saved our family." Ava kept the letter along with hundreds of others that arrived weekly. Each one was a reminder of how a decision made in pride had almost destroyed not only her family, but prevented hundreds of other children from finding hope. The mansion that had been a silent tomb now pulsed with music and hope. In the gardens, children of all ages played, adapted to their realities, creating a spectacle of pure joy that enchanted all visitors. Ava proved that the best revenge against prejudice is to transform it into bridges to a better world. If this story has shown how our judgments can blind us to miracles right in front of us, remember, human greatness has no color or social class. Sometimes angels appear exactly where we least expect to find them. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos.